If you have been confused or you've been struggling about how you want to handle yourself in the public, or you struggle with managing your emotions, you struggle with managing and regulating people's emotion as well. Today we are going to be talking about emotional intelligence. So, guys, here today we have Ron Rich. And Ron comes with 28 years of experience in leadership and development and management. So, he's going to share with us the experience he has gained from this long journey of 28 years on how to manage emotional intelligence, how to build emotional intelligence, and how to also be an expert like him in that field. So, again, welcome to Proverbial Mind Podcast. It is your host, Samuel Oladeji, and here with me is Ron Rich. And today we are going to be sharing with you all the greatest wisdom that there is in emotional intelligence. And Ron is going to lead us on that direction. If you are here for the first time, please do not forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, and like our video. And if you're confused what Proverbial Mind is all about, the theme of our podcast is the Proverbs of Leadership and Success. In this podcast, we are in the game and journey of creating a community of great leaders and successful individuals. So, to know and get more in-depth information, visit our inaugural video in our YouTube channel. And there you get to understand more in-depthly what you will get from this podcast and what to expect moving forward. We have made videos on the qualities of leadership, and we have also made videos on mindset, on basically everything that you can think about in leadership development and success. And so, if you are returning again and you are yet to subscribe, I don't know what you're waiting for. So please ensure that you subscribe. Our journey, our goal is to inspire and transform the life of over 1 million people. And we can't do that without your help. And the more you click the notification button, the more you like and subscribe, you tell the YouTube algorithm or wherever channel you're listening from, you tell them that you're interested and you love what we do. And if they know that you love what we do, they will share it to more people. So we need your support. All right, let's get into it. Ron, could you give us a brief introduction about yourself and just brief intro into your past experiences?
Sure, sure. First of all, Samuel, it's really nice to be here. Thank you for having me. Uh,
Pleasure.
as you had said in the introduction, I have well over 2 decades of experience
Yeah.
working in leadership development, working in coaching, training, and development, and it has been such a fun journey for me throughout these years. Uh, I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. And I absolutely love making a difference in people's lives, both personally and professionally, and also helping too, as you had said before, with the objective of the podcast, Samuel,
Yep.
transforming people's lives. And I believe to my core, I really do, that emotional intelligence is a part of that. It can
Yes,
transform people.
that's absolutely correct. Okay, that's awesome. That is just a brief intro of Ron there. And now Ron is going to delve into what are the core aspects of developing emotional intelligence. You've heard this word emotional intelligence over and over and over again. And I'm sure some people are wondering, okay, what is different between IQ, intelligent quotient, and emotional intelligence? What are the differences and how do they rhyme? And
Yeah.
what exactly is emotional intelligence? So, Ron, could you tell us what emotional intelligence is and how it differs from intelligent quotient?
IQ means very simply, how smart are you?
Hmm.
And also along with that, I also believe, and I learned this from my wife. So IQ is about how smart are you. It's also about how are you smart? Because
Mhm.
we're all smart in different ways.
Yes.
And emotional intelligence for me, the classic definition is very simply how well do you deal with your own emotions? And how well do you deal with other people's emotions and reading their emotions and those sorts of things? I look at it a little bit differently. I really do. One of the most important things from my perspective, Samuel, relative to emotional intelligence is people need to get to know themselves extremely, extremely well. And, a couple of aspects with that. Number one, people need to know who are you? What are you? What are your guiding values? People need to know that, and they also need to be able to articulate that and to be able to talk about it with people. And that's from both sides of the equation, if you will, both personally and professionally. The latest research of which I'm aware is indicating clearly colleagues at work want to know these things. This is who I am. This is what I represent. My guiding values are. And then you need to stick by them. You need to be consistent with those. In addition, we also need to know what our strengths are. Every single person who is on this earth has certain strengths. I have my strengths. I'm proud of them. I have fun with my strengths. I'm going to keep this to a work perspective, even though again it is applicable personally.
Yeah.
I share my strengths openly and freely with people at work. I'm going to do it right now. And I hope this comes across as confident and not arrogant, because that's how I mean it. A couple of my strengths, I'm a good facilitator. I understand the material that I'm presenting, I prepare well, and I generate good discussion. Number two, I'm a very good resource to people. Over the past 20, 23 years, whatever it's been, I've read over 400 leadership books. And that makes me a resource to people. I can make book recommendations. I can pull information from these books and share it with people. It allows me to coach well.
That's
And the
awesome.
point I make here, people need to know their strengths and equally as important for me, they need to be comfortable talking about them at work. Whether I'm talking to my boss, whether I'm talking to my direct reports, whether I'm talking to other colleagues, I need to be able to talk about those openly and freely. And I would actually ask you a question here, if I can, Samuel. What do you think the rationale is, or what's the importance of being able to articulate, talk about your strengths openly and freely?
If you would ask me to answer that question on a personal level, I feel like when we come together for a purpose, which is to make transaction, make exchange. Now, is it, I might be here to help you with one need or the other. Even if it's friendship, we come together to build a rapport and have certain kind of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, me knowing my strengths and be able to articulate it makes me become resourceful to you. Now, when you need certain kind of information, you know that, oh, Samuel can do this. He's very good at this. I don't need to start romping around and look for where to get that resource from because I know exactly where to go. So that is, I'm able to identify the value that I bring to the table, my contribution to that gathering or to that workplace. And being able to articulate it properly helps the leader and the facilitator in that area to know what I come with, and now I can impact that society.
Samuel, that's exactly from my perspective. It truly, truly is. Is that now,
Mhm.
oh, okay, we're starting to get to know each other here. We can leverage each other's strengths. I don't have to know everything. It's impossible. I
Yep.
can go to you. I can go to other colleagues. I can go, wherever it might be. Is that, and we need to know this about each other so we can again just help each other, assist each other
Yep.
in addition to knowing your strengths. Some people have said to me over the years, oh, when I ask them to articulate their strengths, it's like, I feel like I'm bragging. I always say this is not bragging by any stretch. These are everyone has strengths. These happen to be mine.
Mm-hmm.
And in addition to that, it's also not bragging because, again, I'll speak for myself. I know darn well I also have limitations.
Mm-hmm.
There are things I don't do that well.
Mm-hmm.
And I share my strengths openly and freely. I also share my limitations with people openly and freely. And I'm going to do that right now because I don't do everything well. One of my limitations, Samuel, is I'm not real strong technically. I never have been, I never will be. If something goes wrong with the technology that we're using right now, I don't know how to fix it. I mean, I can do the basics, of course I can do that.
Yeah.
If something goes haywire when I'm doing a presentation technically, my hand goes up immediately. Hey guys, I need some help here. I don't know what to do. In addition, I also don't write particularly well. I struggle putting the proverbial pen to paper. I'm just not real good at that. And I am completely open to having people help me when I write because I'm not great at it. I'm so grateful that my wife is a glorious writer. She writes beautifully. She taught elementary school for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
She writes beautifully. Her grammar is just flawless. So whenever I write an article, or if I write a coaching summary after having spent time with somebody, immediately, Lori, would you help me with this, please? Because I'm not good at it. She's glad to do it. It gets done instead of me struggling mightily to try to, what's the right grammar here? How could I phrase this differently? I have a resource who can help me.
Already. That is articulated perfectly and awesomely. And it's turned into the aspect. There is this part of the Bible that says we are all part of the body of Christ. We all have our skills. We all have what we are good at, and we all have what we are not good at. And we are all part of one body. And so what we do is we come together with our skills and complement each other to create that one perfect body. Because if everybody learns everything, if everybody knows everything, why should we come together? We can just be
Right, we don't
alone.
need each other.
We can be self-sustained. And in a society where everybody's self-sustained, I don't see how that is going to last. It's going to crumble. So sometimes it is perfectly okay, in my opinion, to acknowledge the fact that you're not good at certain things. Instead of trying to be good at everything, it is say a jack of all trades is a master of none. If you're trying to get everything figured out, you're wasting time, number one. You're never going to be a master of anything. You'll be really good at anything. So look at what you're good at, look for it, and invest yourself in it. Become irreplaceable in that area, become excellent in that area. And the places where you're not good at, look for the other skills to complement yourself. It reminds me of a quote I read from this book, Think and Grow Rich. It was talking about when Henry Ford was taken to the court or something, and then he was being asked a bunch of questions, and then he was calling some of his technical employees to answer the questions. And they were like saying, couldn't he answer the question? And he was like, why should I answer the question myself? I don't need to know all of this stuff when I have people who knows them. I focus on bringing them together to achieve the goal, and they provide me the technicals.
That's right.
Bingo.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I'll ask you too, just to just kind of reinforce this some, if I may, Samuel. When you share limitations openly and freely with your colleagues or with direct reports, what's the message you're sending to them?
I'm not perfect. I don't know everything. I need
That's
help.
it. That's it. I'm not perfect. I'm human.
Hmm.
I need help. You have expertise in this area.
Yeah.
Let's collaborate. Will you please support me? Will you please help me? And I'm going to link this back again to what we were talking about first thing as the show started. This for me begins to transform lives, to transform departments within organizations, and to transform organizations themselves, where people do realize, oh, wow, you're humble enough to say, I'm
I don't
not
know.
good at
Yeah.
this. I made a mistake or I need help. And I mean that for me is the core of any solid relationship.
Yes. And that is quite very important because in the world of today, especially in the accolade world, the professional world, the degree world, everybody want to feel like I have all the answers. Because when you're able to answer every question and do everything in the eyes of society, you're smart, you know everything, you're good, you're confident. And sometimes people can build their sense of belonging, they can build their sense of perfection, from that area. Whereas that is slowly eating you away. I used to be stuck in that paralysis before. And then I began to realize that, man, I'm doing myself absolutely no favor. And I
Yeah.
think it was something I stumbled upon one time, or I think someone helped me to learn that. And I began to, when I don't know something, I say, look, I don't know this thing. Who knows it? Let's come together and solve it. This is what I'm good at. You bring your skills together and we work together. When I see things that are beyond my caliber, I am not a professional in this area. I don't know nothing about what is going on here. So if you're good at it, come and let's do it. Oh, I think I just felt something off here. But anyway.
Right? I mean, Samuel, what you're saying again for me just makes so much sense. And so instead of me struggling and
Mhm.
getting upset and getting nervous
Yep.
about something that's gone wrong, for me, again, either technically or
Mhm.
when I'm writing or whatever, it's like there's no reason for me to be upset. There's no reason for me to be nervous or to be anxious. Let me just ask for some help. There are a bunch of people who
Yep.
are willing to help me.
Yep. That's true. Steve Jobs said something one time in a I think it was it an interview he was having, and it was like, when you actually come out to ask for help and ask questions, you will realize that there are a lot of people willing to help you. But when you keep quiet, you shrink and shrink and shrink and shrink and just kill yourself like that.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. So now we have discussed about identifying your strength, which is one of the basis of developing emotional intelligence. Because emotional intelligence, like you perfectly illustrated, is your ability to know yourself very, very well. Know yourself in depthly and then be able to regulate your emotions as well as being able to help other people regulate their emotions, understanding them and be able to respond to them, in a better way, basically, than just the other way around. So now, what are the four core steps that you mentioned in our previous meeting when we met in developing emotional intelligence? How do somebody then go about, oh, so now I know that the basis of even becoming emotional intelligent is, first of all, to know myself, to know my emotions, to know the things I'm good at, and to acknowledge the things I'm not good at. So how then do you not take care of the other side and becoming fully grounded in emotional intelligence?
Yeah. One of the other aspects of emotional intelligence, and also people also need to be aware
Mm,
what triggers you emotionally.
mm,
What are some things that can get you really upset, that can get you really angry, that
mm,
can make you really anxious, whatever it might be. And the competency that we talk about here within emotional intelligence is called self-regulation. And the recommendation I always like to make to people when we're talking about this, when someone is emotional, and I don't want to fire off an emotional, inappropriate response that can damage a relationship or that can really cause a lot of harm.
mhm,
What I need to do when I'm really emotional is PRD it, just the acronym PRD. I
mhm,
need to pause, I need to reflect, and then I need to decide what I'm going to do.
mm,
When I pause, and I reflect. There's brain physiology involved here that we don't have time to get into. And again, talking about, I'm not an expert on this, I do
Yeah.
know something about it. When you pause and reflect when you're emotional, it allows your brain to get into more of the cerebral area, which is where we actually think, rather than being in the emotional part of the brain.
Hmm.
You pause, you reflect. Sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's appropriate to respond on the spot,
Yep.
and that's okay. Still, by having paused and having reflected, there will be
Exactly.
some logic attached to your answer. The emotions will not have completely gone away. They never completely go away.
No.
Still, in all, they will have abated some. Another option that I like, and this is my preference, whenever it's possible and or appropriate, I'm going to pause, I'm going to reflect. Can we talk about this another time? I'm emotional right now. You're emotional right now. Can we talk about this
Hmm.
another time? An example for me, Samuel, and this just popped into my head. This is a personal one. I hope you don't mind.
No, no, sure, go
Uh,
ahead.
my mother-in-law was very, very, very ill, and we knew she was near the end. And my wife and I needed to make the decision. She was at home with us, and we had lived with her our entire marriage, so we all knew each other very well. We were hoping to be able to keep her at home. We weren't sure we could, and we had made arrangements with a local nursing home that if we need to take her there, we will. I had been working in Manhattan all day. I had a really long day. Got home, I was very tired, and my wife said to me, "We need to talk about mom. We need to figure out what are we going to do with her." And I gave her my thoughts, and she reacted very, very emotionally, very strongly. I know what you want. You just want to stick her in the nursing home and be done with this. You don't love her, which was the furthest thing from the truth.
Hmm.
And I'm realizing it was like, all right, Ron, all right, pause, reflect. And my answer to her, Lori, clearly you're emotional about this. I get it. I absolutely get it. We need to make some big decisions here. I have had a very, very long day, and I'm really tired right now. Maybe this isn't the best time to talk about this. Can we sleep on it and can we talk about it tomorrow morning? Okay, let's do that. I was in Manhattan again the next day, so I got to the city really early. I called my wife and I was like, hi, Laura, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I think I'm changing my mind, Larry. I think I'm changing my mind. Maybe we could keep her at home. Maybe we can do this. And she responded, Ron, I'm changing my mind. I think we should probably put her in the nursing home. And we ended up having a good
Conversation.
conversation. And that's the point here. We talked it through and we did the next right thing. We did end up putting her in the nursing home to pull the story through. That's neither here nor there. The point is, pausing and reflecting the night before allowed both of us.
Think.
Let's take a step back. Let's let the emotions settle down a little bit. Let's talk about this calmly and rationally tomorrow. And that's what happened, and that's how these things work. That is just how these things work. I could give you example after example of this, both from my own life and from observations from other people.
Good, good. That was a profound point that you brought up. You see, many times we always, I mean, it's a human thing. When someone hurt you, when someone say things you don't like, you want to react right away. You want to blow up. There are many times myself too that someone could just act one way or the other, and my brain is like, what is it saying or what is she saying and stuff like that. But the idea of pausing, reflecting, and then making decision helps you to think through what you're about to say and help you to consider how is this going to be perceived by the other person? Will it sit well, or is it going to actually lead to like a time bomb, nuclear reactor? So it allows you to actually reflect on your decision you're about to make. And I feel like it aligns perfectly with the law of responding rather than reacting, because they
Exactly.
usually say you can spend 20 years building your character, but you can screw it over in just 1 second when
Right.
you
That's right.
react instead of responding. So that is very profound. And it made me, especially the example you gave regarding the interaction between you and your wife, it gives it a more practical example of how to solve problems, because you both could have went on and just yelling at each other and having more and more conversation in anger, and everything just stemmed from emotions. The logical mind is completely short circuited at that point. It's just the emotion that is, blowing over and blowing over. Okay, so Ron, what extra thing do you have to teach us today about emotional intelligence? I know we've talked about knowing yourself, knowing your skills, knowing how to regulate your emotions, knowing how to regulate other people's emotions. And then we've also talked about the 3 steps before you react or respond to situation, which is
Mhm.
pause, reflect, and then decide what you want to do. What
Yeah.
extra giveaway do you have for us today?
Well, it's. I'm going to tie it together because we
Mhm.
were talking earlier in the show too. Nobody's perfect.
Yep.
We all make mistakes.
Hmm.
And I know for an absolute fact, I have said things before that I wish I hadn't. And one of the next competencies or aspects of emotional intelligence, very simply, Samuel, is when you're wrong, admit it.
Yep.
When you're wrong, apologize quickly, just quickly. I was wrong. I wish I hadn't said that. I'm sorry. And maybe it's a day later, maybe it's 2 days later, whatever it might be. I didn't mean to come on to you so strongly in that meeting. That was a mistake. I'm sorry. I hope we'll be okay with that. I didn't mean to make you look bad in front of the client. Again, whatever it might be, apologize. Nobody's perfect. And again, what's the message you're sending people when you apologize?
You're letting them know that you're not perfect and you're a human, and everybody's prone to mistake.
I made a mistake. This is on me. I admit it. I'm sorry. Can we move on, please?
Another aspect of that apologizing is it actually shows your level of maturity, which aligns so well with that emotional intelligence,
Exactly.
because majority of people will be clouded by ego, which is again an emotional response. You'll be like, why should I respond? Why should I apologize? He or she should apologize to me first. And all that is just a bunch of ego kicking you there, and like, you don't want to quit, because apologizing sometimes makes you, at least in the eyes of the world, makes you look weak, like you accepted defeat and stuff like that. Whereas that is the mastermind of emotional intelligence and maturity.
That's right. That's
Awesome.
exactly right.
Awesome. All right. I think that's all we got on that emotional intelligence with Ron Rich. If you have stuck to the end, I'm pretty sure you are blessed and you have enjoyed a lot from this conversation, because I have enjoyed it and I have also gained new insight today, and I've learned a lot as well from it from Ron Rich. So, Ron Rich, thank you so much, Ron, for taking the time to come onto our show today and to bless us with this wealth of wisdom on emotional intelligence. And to give a recap, guys, on what we talked about today, we talked about knowing yourself, that is knowing who you are, knowing in depthly your emotions, the things that trigger you, and the things that you are good at, the things you are not good at, admitting the fact that you are human and you're prone to mistake. And then the key of them all is how you respond to situations, which is to pause, reflect, decide. And the biggest of them all, which is going to sting a lot of people's ego is apologize nicely. Apologize when you're wrong. And even when you're not wrong, it's a sign of maturity when you apologize for something that went wrong. And oftentimes I notice that that helps both parties to put away their defense and instead collaborate on a friendly and more professional manner. Okay, Ron, one last word for us today. If you were going to give somebody an advice who is growing old, who is coming up, either as a personal in the personal life, on the job first, or in success journey, what is one piece of quote or advice that you can give?
I'm going to go back to what I said before, Samuel.
Mm,
Truly get to know yourself. When
good.
you know yourself extraordinarily well, you're going to be able to work with other people more effectively. You're going to interact with other people more effectively, and you're going to get better results because you know yourself, and that way you can react appropriately.
That is profound. That is awesome. That's it, guys, on Emotional Intelligence with Ron Rich. If you have not subscribed, I don't know what you're doing again because this is fun to me. So ensure that you subscribe, click the notification button, and like our videos. If you're here for the first time, I said this initially in the intro, visit our episode, our channel on YouTube. It's the Proverbial Minds. And you can follow us on Instagram as well. We post a lot of short content there. You can find us there. It's at Proverbial Minds too. You can listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. It's still the same name, Proverbial Minds. If you ever have any question, testimony, inquiry, partnership, proposal, reach out to us at proverbialminds@gmail.com. Until the next one, see you guys and have a lovely day or night, whatever season of the time you are there. Just understand that. Thank you.